Crypto, Ethereum, Bitcoin, all across the board, we're seeing fresh dumps, especially in the last hour. We're going to go over that. We're going to look at the catalysts. Why is this happening? We're going to go over ETHGATE, explain that, and we got some chart experts on today. Let's discover crypto.
Capital flight is coming to the United States. The dollar is going to zero.
And that's what makes Bitcoin so special. You have to have gone through a couple cycles to understand.
Once the price is able to clear this level, the breakout is on its way.
This is your indication to jump in now.
Guys, the markets are falling, and it's not because of anything we've done. It's because you haven't hit the like button yet. Let's make sure we go ahead and do that. We got Crypto Blood back with us today in the GA. How are you doing today?
Good, man. All the way from Villarica, baby.
Yeah. All right.
All five of you out there.
Fresh cap, man, on the right side there.
Right, you know.
Yeah, wait. Here, we look to the other side for the camera there. Oh, yeah. Oh, you got the clean gear on. And also TJ. TJ, how are you feeling today? The markets are looking a little bearish. Are you feeling bearish?
No, I'm feeling good. I feel life is good. Always, I want to ask you, let us know in the chat what you're grateful for today. I'm grateful for Deezy's fun opening. I love it when you start with the rhymes. It's Friday. Everybody's feeling good. We got a holiday next week. Prices pulling back makes it for a good opportunity for accumulating your favorite projects. So, hopefully people weren't buying the tops, but if you are, you've got more opportunities. Great video you dropped last night on Chainlink. Is this a good opportunity to be getting back in, buying the dip on your favorite alts right now? I'm kind of excited to see these price pullbacks, to be honest.
Yeah, and if anyone that hasn't watched it yet, if you watched it last night and bought, you might be down a little bit, but if you're watching it this morning, I will say this, the Chainlink entry price looks a little bit better today than it did yesterday. Blood, what's your broad thoughts on Chainlink? I don't know if we've talked about it.
Of course, that's one of my favorite. Top 5, dead or alive.
Okay, all right. We love that. Yeah, we just dropped that video yesterday. Maybe we'll share the link. So highly recommend you go check that out. I'm going to clip out, say, a minute or two, and I'll put it on X later. So if you guys want to see some clips. But looks like the crypto market cap is getting clipped. The wings are getting clipped because it wanted to soar. Yes, as someone pointed out 24 days ago, Bitcoin is now up only $1,500. Yes, 24 days ago. Yeah, man, we're going to start feeling good. We're going to start feeling bullish. Now we have a pullback. We were slightly into greed. Do you think we'll pull back enough to maybe get into fearful if we have a red weekend?
It's possible. I'm watching this line. Let me see if I can pull this up on my chart here.
And we're about to look at Bitcoin, correct?
Yeah, this is Bitcoin. And so this orange line is where I'm watching. If we continue to reach this area, we're going to head back to that yellow line, which is roughly around $34,500 Bitcoin. I don't see it's going any further than that at this point. Elmo died here at $32,000. So, hey, we'll see.
Someone's saying is going back up. Does that just mean a $50 pump? Can we look at like a 1 minute chart on that same chart, you guys?
I can't. Okay,
you're locked in with the Elmo and everything. Yeah. Hey, man, it's Elmo's fault.
It's bouncing. It went below 35. It's hitting. It's back above it. It's kind of bouncing off of that right now. Right over 36. So it's down. It's up. But yeah, we're.
I'm not ready to call a lower low just at this point. We would have to breach 35,000. and a half, 35.5.
Yeah, it's going to be a pivotal weekend. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the week. We've got some of these ETF delays coming out right now. Not a surprise to see, those weren't surprising delays necessarily. 36 is a key number. So if we can hold through the weekend, I think it'll be okay. But, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, a lot of times that's when you see bigger dumps. So it's, if we can stay in that broadening wedge, we'll just have to wait and see.
All right, and let's actually look at this bloodbath that's happening right now. We're seeing some alts really get beaten down in the markets. We're going to look at some of the top losers in some of these top coins here. So we do see Bitcoin is down. It's a little bit of a recover since when it dipped below 35. It's now 36,118 is down 1.8%. But ETH now below 2,000 is down 4.5%. Now at 1933. XRP down 5%. Solana down 11%. And folks, I was talking about my Solana calls. I sold at 65 strictly to buy in at 55. I'm not trying to catch an exact bottom. I literally just had a stated goal. I want to turn 5 Solana into about 6 Solana. I'm about to accomplish that goal today. Maybe I'll keep a little bit on the... No, in fact, let me just go ahead and do it. So I feel good. I turned my 5 into 6. Not a whole entire thing. This is just the beginning legs of this bullish action, I feel. I'm just getting my reps in. Okay, I don't want to go in 35x, have some crazy leverage and then just lose everything off of like a little 1% spike there. So I feel pretty good about Solana. Do you think Solana will get cheaper than 55 though, Blood? I even think it will. I don't want to gamble on it.
If you think it won't, then it will. That's how the markets work.
Yeah, that is and that's not the only double-digit loser as well. We do have Cardano really close at 9%, and we have Polygon close at 9.2%. But if you look here, Avalanche down 11.4%. But then when you look at the weekly, kind of just puts things in perspective. It feels really bad today. It's a bloodbath. It's a bloodbath, but Avalanche is still up 50%. If we look at the top losers, Caspa is down 18% and Rollbit is down 16%. So actually one of the rare red weeks here. Render down 12%, Optimism down 12%, and Synthetics down. Now, TJ, these are three, I would say, pretty solid coins. Of these three, which would you want to maybe try to get an entry in? Would it be Render, Optimism, or Synthetics?
Yeah, like you said, they're all strong projects. If I had to choose one, I definitely like Optimism. There's a lot of obviously big projects working on it, things with Coinbase, and it's one of the stronger layer 2s. I do like Synthetics and Solana as pumpers throughout the bull market. I think they've got really strong narratives, especially when we're starting to see more and more tokenized assets and DeFi and that sort of stuff coming along. I think Synthetics, a great name. A lot of times people will just ape into things without even really, just on a good name and a good narrative. So, but to your point about, price entry points with Solana and some of those things, like I definitely think you'll have an opportunity to buy Solana under $50 again. And I want to stress that with people, like it's exciting when your coin is pumping. But we talked about it. So I don't know if it was Tuesday or Wednesday. Bitcoin moves, and when it hangs out a little while, it gives alt some room to run. We saw that. It was really exciting. Render and Caspa and Chainlink and Solana and a lot of these things moving really, really, really well. But when Bitcoin pulls back just that 1-2%, they can correct just as quickly as they got up there.
Exactly.
And so it's not going to be up and to the right forever right now. I mean, we're still not even at the halving yet. We're really a little bit ahead of schedule with some of this buying FOMO that we're experiencing. So like Solana, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me to get another chance at it at $30 even. Now, not saying you should stay completely sidelined, but you need to decide where your good entry points are, where you think you're going to have opportunities, and what your game plan is. Whether if it goes this high, my lower low is invalidated. If it goes down here, like again, if Solana gets back, I don't know if you'll get a shot at $18 again or $16, but I wouldn't rule that out completely. And same with things like Chainlink, there could be an opportunity to get some under $8 again. So I just keep that in mind. It's exciting when things pump, especially Bitcoin and large caps, and watching these altcoins run. But when Bitcoin pulls back just a touch, you can get much, much better entries. Truck Dano says retrace to $28 Sol. Lynx needs to retest $8.50 from Crypto Crank. So you guys are smart. You get it. Keep an eye on these charts and enjoy the ride, because we're just getting started, and this roller coaster is going to be there's going to be a lot of ups and downs.
I think Render can definitely see a big pullback till about 250, 257.
Okay,
around that range.
And on that note, Render, strong project, and it's on Solana, and looking at other things within layer 1 ecosystems when they do well. Deezy, you talk about this a lot on Cardano. Hey, Cardano pumps. A lot of times you'll see the micro caps and those ecosystems run even more. I think we'll continue to see that with Solana, Avalanche, and a lot of these other ones. They usually all have their kind of one go-to application that's doing well. On Solana, in my mind, that's Render. But looking beyond the top one, what's 2, 3, and 4 applications on those networks, and how can you get those before they pop? I think that's a really good strategy if you're looking to level up your portfolio in this bull market.
All right, Crank saying Bitcoin needs to retest 28.5 according to CryptoFace himself and Jason Casper. I'm gonna go ahead and
I can see that.
I'm gonna forego a sandwich today, folks. I talk about this a lot. You could put, I don't have all these funds to put into crypto. Put the sandwich down. Don't buy a sandwich. Eat some ramen or eat just mayo sandwich. Put the meat and cheese aside. Put that towards crypto. I'm actually gonna buy. This is a very small amount. This is just as an example. $16 worth. I'm going to get OP right now. I'm buying 10 at $1.60. Done. It is complete. It is now. I've just purchased it. So you know what, TJ, I'm going to have to raid the break room. I'm not going out for lunch today, but that's just more time to work, more time to study crypto. Yeah. And we'll see what that 10 OP turns into. maybe $100. You know, I think it's possible for sure.
And turn into OPP.
Other people's property. I will buy your assets out from under you. I'll buy your land. I'll buy your vehicles. I'll buy your gold.
There you go.
All right. Well, speaking of gold, Celestia has been all gold this week. It is up 155%. I just want to point out some weekly winners here. Celestia up 150% and YFI up 100%. And then Avalanche 50%, and then another 50% with Rune. Good call on that one, TJ. But 150, 100, 50, 50. And then after that, it's a little bit more normal. Caspa, Ordi, DYDX, and the aforementioned Render. Now, you said, what was that price target for Render, you said?
$2.57 range, in that range. I'm seeing prior resistance there. We may go back to that area. So watch out for that.
Keep an eye out.
It's run really, really hard. So
yeah, when you look at the all-time chart, it definitely looks like it has more room to grow. I don't know the tokenomics of this level right there, but yeah, previously around $8, now under $3. So maybe some movement to be had there. But let's talk about Bitcoin dipping. We're going to have to look at some of these stories, make sure it's still timely here. Bitcoin dips 5% under 36K as the crypto rally runs into a wall. This number is going to grow, folks. So far, 340 million in liquidations in 2 days. Blood, with the recent dip, do you think this number has a chance to double just by tomorrow? We see a 680 or maybe a 690 tomorrow?
Definitely more. I think we got options expiring soon. We'll talk about that later in the show. So be careful here. Definitely see more liquidations.
We look here, we go to the daily. We have, when does this daily candle end again? I'm trying to look here on TradingView. 8 hours and 14 minutes from now. So 8 hours, 14, we're going to have that daily candle close. A lot of volatility in the final seconds, I would say. We typically see. So let's talk about the max pain point of that trend line right there. I want to make sure I can try to find it. Might be on this story here. Volatility looms as the ETH and Bitcoin options near expiry. This is what Blood was just talking about. We have the max pain point. I want to maybe ask you about these levels, Blood. 36,000 for Bitcoin and 1,900 for Ethereum. So these are the max pain points, everyone. I don't know if we could share that real quick. So what are you thinking about as far as those two levels, Blood?
Yeah, I mean that sounds appropriate. Definitely sounds appropriate. Again, I'm just watching on the chart. You got to just watch these higher lows, and if we continue to make those higher lows, then we won't have an issue going lower. We'll just start to head higher from here. We are crossing on the moving averages. I don't really watch that too much on the 1 hour. I like to typically look at that on the daily. It has more significance. But yeah, as far as this goes, I'm just watching these dips here. If we can keep this area, then we are Gucci, ladies and gentlemen.
Jackson Miles, I hope crypto loses 50% of its value and then keeps going down. No.
So you hate me 50%, then you hate half of me.
Wow.
Mr. Jackson.
Wow.
I don't like that.
All right. Well, speaking of half, let's call to one of our better halves here.
Oh, yeah.
And that's Kelly. Kelly in the basement. He's in the laboratory doing lobotomies on all the people who think XRP is going to 589. I'm sorry. I had to say it. Kelly, how are you doing? Have you looked at some of these expiry levels? We got the 36K. We got the 1,900 for Ethereum. More often than not, it seems like it likes to close that gap to the pain point. Are you seeing something similar?
Yeah, I'm seeing absolutely something similar. First off, thank you for having me again, everybody in chat. Thank you for being here. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell. But I want to look at look at some of these things. Yeah, I mean, we got some key levels. I actually talked about this on the BitLab morning stream. Interestingly, we have this broadening wedge here with this line right through it. What is this line? Just like anything on charts, if you want more context, zoom out a little bit and look at some of the data. This is that line. I keep talking about it. I don't mean to harp on it. Let's make it bold so it's super obvious for us all to see, and that we're going to make it blue as well, just so it stands out, or light blue. Here we go. And I just want to point out that this has marked a lot of this bullish uptrend. Let's go ahead and turn off this indicator just so you can see the support. We lost it here, and this is exactly what's basically driving right through the middle of this broadening wedge. Now, we're kind of fighting two battles here. We have this ultimate bullish exuberance. Everybody wants it to go up. And you said $36,000, $36,000. Yeah, the max pain is essentially right just below this trend line that we were just talking about, this major sort of uptrend bull or bear exuberance sort of level. And right now we've pushed above it. We pushed above it and come back below it. We're chopping around this zone. In fact, not only did we come below it, we came up and rejected off of it and came back down. So there's some signs here also with this pretty large, this is on the 6-hour bearish divergence here that was leading in from right here, this red line coming into this zone right here. This is on the momentum, and we also have bearish divergence right here on the stochastics. If we look at Lux Algo, we can see on Lux Algo we got a suggested sell signal or bearish weakness signal right back here. Even with this pump up right here, we did get a potential buy signal, but it's very weak, being that we're still within this range. I wouldn't even consider this being a new higher high, just in context, because it was such a flash in the pan to get above that. So this 36,000 mark, we're fighting to stay at it, because 36 to 36.4 is right regionally in the range of this macro trend line that we're fighting with. Directly below us, so is I think a little bit more important. If we lose the 35.5 level, we are going to be coming quite a bit lower. And I think it's not the end of the world. I keep saying this. It's going to be ultimately quite bullish if we do lose this level and find support anywhere above this orange box right here, anywhere above 31.6, 31.8, but let's just call it $32,000 region. If we can hold there, then we're really maintaining really, really nice bullish structure, because we'd just be pushing up and coming back and testing the previous high. Now, when we're looking over at things like Ethereum is in a slightly different structure. It's got a kind of falling broadening wedge. And the problem with these are these do tend to break bullish, but there's no terminal point. When you have a wedge like this, you have a terminal point that gives you an idea about when the apex is, when you may be breaking out. With broadening wedges, this is just actually currently just showing an expansion of bearish action to the downside. I expect Ethereum to come down a little bit further and test the 1900 level, and that's this previous high, just like you just said, that pain point. If we lose that, we may be coming down and testing a little bit lower down into the mid 1800s. So watch that. I do want to render and I want to point to Quant. Quant is such a great buy going into this next cycle, because I mean, this did not see any of those gains we saw in a lot of the other layer one or other top cap coins. This is below $100 again. Now, this is also showing that, this bearish sort of structure here, suggesting we may be even pushing below this $96 mark. But anything at this level or lower, I'm a net buyer of Quanton. When we come back, I did want to mention Render. I was just in a short on Render. Render gave us a textbook level of, look at this, on the 2-hour chart, textbook push up, head and shoulders. And this is coming down just as expected from this pattern. So I'm looking for it to come down into the 260s, potentially even down, just like Blood said, down between the 50 to 60 mark. I think would be a great buy for Render. Now, some positive things. The thing I've been talking about a lot lately, global liquidity. It couldn't be better set up with everything on the horizon, with the ETFs, with the institutions on the sideline, with everybody waiting for this halving. And we're also seeing a rounding formation here on the global liquidity, suggesting that the liquidity is about to start being pumped back up. And I don't want to say there's anything good about global conflict, but one thing we know is, golly, is that not a good reason for them to print some money? Is it maybe one of the reasons why they're letting it happen? Well, this is the suggesting we may be seeing some global liquidity. Last chart right here, having just a reminder, we're exactly where we should be. Watch for any push up, watch for a pullback, because there's a lot that can happen between now and then. And everything that happens, if you do it without strategy in this market, is going to leave you having less capital. So come head over to BitLab Academy, learn about this stuff, and join the mailing list, which all you have to do is scroll down, sign up right here. We have a huge promo going out this weekend for the holidays. And I just hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. I can't get off the screen. There we go. Has a wonderful weekend, and just get your mind right. Do some studying. I think we're all going to be putting out some content about how we can orange pill our friends and neighbors and aunts and all that turgid Uncle Larry. We got to come up with some facts this Thanksgiving holiday. Let them know why Bitcoin is the best asset in the history of the world.
I'm just going to show them Michael Saylor memes. That's my plan.
Yeah.
I think it'll work. All right, good
I
stuff.
completely
Kelly,
agree.
always a great time. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Kale.
I wanted to share a couple. Like, if people want to see some bearish scenarios, there's definitely some out there. Now, there is some catalysts he did mention when it comes to maybe liquidity coming back in. So if we come over to X real quick, did want to give a shout out. I opened this. I saw the Frankie Candles tweet from a minute ago. One of my favorite things about what I do is seeing the community crush their trades. Dave Digital, one of the longtime members and community members. So Frankie Candle is one of the best ones. Make sure to check him out. But bearish scenarios here from Bagsy. He said 2 BTC pullback scenarios that are interesting to me. And this is, I could see some of these playing out. Quick tap of 32K. Weekly candle will look like the letter T. And then another one, this is coming back to what some people in the chat were talking about, 28K to 30K. Slow grind into 30K and lose the level, chop everyone below the level, 28 to 30K. That would give us that bearish retest of that 28.5 level. We know very strong support down in here. We chopped in here for quite some time. I mean, if you're looking at this timeline, this is basically, call it June to April to August. Half of 2023, we just traded in this pretty tight range right in here. So if we come back down, retest these levels before takeoff, that wouldn't be shocking at all. He's saying they're not predictions. He doesn't have a clue, but I could see both of those things playing out. Now, when it comes to that liquidity, we also know we have another FOMC meeting December 13th, 2023. It's the last one for the year, and they're showing a 99.7% chance of a pause. Again, not necessarily shocking. I don't think, especially with the latest CPI numbers coming out, I don't think people are expecting any type of rate hike. Pause would be at least a little bit of a relief for the market, and then moving into January, some of the money printing people are talking about potential ETFs getting approved and cuts, and that's when a lot of the more of the fun could start happening. So again, I want to stress when markets are pumping, it's really exciting. You're seeing your alts rip, you're getting the feelings and the FOMO kicking in, but there's still a lot of time left in this market. There's going to be many pullbacks between now and the end of 2025. So you need to be prepared. You need to have an action plan. This is what I'm going to do when the market's pumping. This is what I'm going to do when the market's pulling back or retracing. Both are healthy. Both are exciting, and just for different reasons. So just have a strategy in place. You guys have thrown out some great accumulation numbers. Like for me, it's accumulating top projects, and hopefully one of these days Ethereum is going to do something fun. But man, has it been brutal watching what feels like almost everything move except Ethereum. So
Ethereum still lagging behind, but I have a little bit of hope because we still have a little bit of time. It could be the same situation we saw in 2017, same situation we saw in 2021, a 30-day delay. And so maybe we're getting close to the point where that's going to be obsolete. But I'm still holding out a little bit of hope. But let's speaking of ETH, there's a lot of rumors floating around, and there's a lot of allegations and name slinging and opinion throwing and insult hurling happening right now with Charles Hoskinson and Ethereum and the big revelation that's going to come out. Regarding the voice recordings that were leaked. All right, let's get into it. Cardano founder Hoskinson speaks out on the Ethereum insider revelations. This is not an AI pick. It looks like maybe they got the real deal that time. All right, Charles Hoskinson, let me zoom out a little bit for you here. All right, the co-founder of Ethereum and founder of Cardano responded to the controversial revelations made by former ETH insider Stephen Nerayoff, I think is we said it in the morning. Where are we landing at for say his last name?
Nerayoff.
Nerayoff.
Don't ask me.
All right. All right. Well, the latter yesterday released private conversations with Ethereum's founder Vitalik Buterin and a rescue and restructure plan for ETH dating back to 2015. Secret Vitalik voice recordings. Everybody, what it was 2015, 8 years old at this point, almost 9 years old. Well, Hoskinson noted that his long-standing acquaintance with the guy, stating, "I've known him for a long time." He mentioned that Nerayoff was introduced to him by a mutual friend, recounting their history. They first met in 2013, and since then have had some intermittent conversations. He credited him with significant contributions. This guy came into ETH and he provided a lot of assistance in the early days with the structuring of the ETH crowd sale while Charles was pushed out of Ethereum. So think less of a dev here, fixing substrate, protocols. He's looking for fundraising. He's more on that end. Steven stayed on after I got pushed out and provided a lot of advice about business strategy and how to structure Ethereum. I'm assuming like legally, corporate structure wise. Hoskinson then addressed the purpose of the video, drawing attention to the document that heavily references him. Now, the reason I'm making this video is he made a big deal and talked about this Ethereum rescue and restructure plan. My name is mentioned 69 times. I don't know if that's the real number right there. What are y'all's guys' thoughts on this thing? You know, that's one we might have Josh coming in later, kind of help provide some color and some background for ETHGATE. But Charles Hoskinson coming out. So it's ETH needed help. Well, let me use their phrase here. Was it the help? Rescue and restructuring back in 2015. Does that make you bearish on ETH, or is this a nothing burger to you?
It doesn't make me bearish on ETH overall. It is an interesting storyline. I think this is not. I don't think this is going to go away overnight. I think we're going to dig into this a little bit. I think if you look at the early days of blockchain, of crypto, of Bitcoin, of Ethereum, of Ripple, of some of the first ICOs, all those sorts of things. I think you will find a lot of very interesting history the more you dig into it. Pretty small group of people. You know, they're trying to start a digital revolution. They were trying to set new standards, and a lot of what they were doing, we're benefiting from today. So I just want to go ahead and say that, like, there's a lot of stuff, you know, to dig into. So I'm intrigued by a lot of this. It doesn't necessarily make me bearish on Ethereum. Again, like might be bearish on Ethereum Classic, right? Like, you know, there's big difference between Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, and back then, this was pre-split for a lot of this stuff. So you need to take that into consideration. And Josh did do a really good thread on X. I mean, I think it's got almost 200 or 115,000 views on it. We're gonna pull him in just a moment. Real quick, we will answer this game for Retro Gamer because it is a super chat. Does Blood think AVAX and HBAR will pass all-time highs or make new all-time highs?
Not sure about AVAX, but I'm a firm believer in HBAR. I think so. Yeah, it may take, it's a slow grind, but they are building the infrastructure. They're building the partnerships. I think that's a great one to hold on long term. I think the high was around 50 cents, maybe 49 cents.
And the HBarbarian strong community.
HBarbarian.
So let's go ahead and pull Josh in here. He's done a lot of research on this. We actually have a video coming out on this soon. And we will be doing more digging and more information on this. Again, XRP Army has been on this for a long time, basically saying they were unfairly targeted by the SEC. I don't want to see this turn. I don't want to see the SEC targeting Ethereum now, and I don't think we will see that. But it is interesting to learn the history, and history in crypto is one of the most valuable things you can always do. I'm a big believer in knowing the early players, the Eric Voorhees, the Charlie Schrems, the Winklevi. Know your Bitcoin history, know your Ethereum history, and form your own opinion. So, Josh, what is your take, and what is some of what you're pulling together when it comes to ETHGATE?
Yeah, so look, first and foremost, everybody that's kind of listening on this, I'm going to explain what ETHGATE is. This is something that's been happening for a long time at this point. The XRP community.
So when you say long time, it started in the 70s, right? When Vitalik sent a bunch of people into Bitcoin headquarters with secret recording equipment.
To be fair, 10 years in crypto feels like 50 years. So, but what I wanted to say after that was right now, a lot of these are just allegations, and some of it does, cross those lines of conspiracy. So we need this to be investigated further, but they are very important questions for us to ask, especially when we have people like Vivek coming out and talking about how we should regulate cryptocurrencies and, create regulatory framework. We need to understand the history of, crypto, as well as Ethereum, all these ICOs and how they were funded, to truly understand where we need to approach this in the future. So I'm going to share my screen right here. I think I came into the tail end. TJ, actually really quick, did you already share the thread? I joined when you brought it up.
No, I just mentioned it.
Perfect. So let's go ahead and share the entire screen right here and head over to Twitter. So this is going to be the overall kind of just basic understanding of ETHGATE. The XRP community was right about ETHGATE. It might be bigger than the FTX scandal. And that's, of course, the clickbait I loved in with this. But number one, guys, the ETHGATE scandal is unraveling, echoing the controversial formation of the Federal Reserve in 1910. Former SEC Chairman Jay Clayton and Director William Hinman are at the heart of this, with connections to Consensus and Ethereum that raise eyebrows. Revelations from court filings. So this is going to be specifically talking about the Ripple court case, guys. This is where this comes from. From the court filings, video evidence points to Consensus lobbying the SEC for Ethereum's quote-unquote free pass. Meanwhile, similar ICOs faced harsh SEC crackdowns. The infamous Ethereum speech by Hinman that deemed Ethereum not a security spotlights regular favoritism. So what this shows, guys, is that over the years of all these lawsuits that Jay Clayton pushed on the XRP community, specifically Ripple, right before on his last day in office, a lot of the filings go to show that there's been favoritism towards Ethereum from our financial regulators. And this is where that term ETHGATE kind of approaches the situation. So Ripple's lawsuit filed on Clayton's last SEC day brings potential conflicts to light, contrasting SEC's treatment of XRP and Ethereum. And Ripple argues for fair notice and due process, which could redefine the SEC's crypto authority. Why the disparity? Well, Ethereum gets a regulatory nod while Ethereum faces a massive lawsuit. It's a tangled web of interest with SEC officials linked to Ethereum allies, and the bias has significant implications for the SEC's role in credibility of crypto regulation. So, of course, you guys briefly covered it today. This is going to be Steven Nerayoff, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name properly just yet, but ultimately, he was very early on to Ethereum. He was, back in 2014 is when Vitalik reached out to him, and he essentially created this Ethereum rescue and restructure plan. Now, to understand this, okay, I'm going to need about 3 to 4 minutes to explain this very briefly. Before I cover this, we need to understand why this is even taking into effect and the overall quote unquote conspiracy that's been acquired from this. So Ethereum's co-founder, Vitalik Buterin, guys, this is going to date back to something and his ties to a company known as Shanghai Wanxiang Blockchain Labs. Now, I could be totally butchering that name. We're going to ignore that. But overall, what this group is going to be, and let me pull up the other article because I have a better article that explains this. It's right here. Is going to be the beginnings of Vitalik Buterin in China. Early on, the Ethereum Foundation was struggling to get funding, and the developers, and specifically Vitalik, did not want it to close. They were weeks away from launching. They had done all of this work, and there was a lot of discrepancies that were taken around with the funding, taxing, regulatory clarity, developers, and everything that this whistleblower speaks of. But that comes from the stems of Wanxiang Blockchain Labs stepping in. So the Chinese crypto community was instrumental in helping get Ethereum off the ground in the early days. And Vitalik Buterin's love affair with China helps explain it. So for you guys that don't know, VGod is a nickname that he has out in China. Vitalik, very early on, guys, in Hong Kong, he straight up would be doing karaoke at bars with close friends. And this is kind of what led to the unraveling of him getting in bed with Feng Zhao. Okay, Feng Zhao is going to be the CEO of Wanxiang Blockchain Labs. Now, I'm going to do an in-depth video on this because it would take me way more than 15 minutes to explain this in a live stream, and we're not going to go down that rabbit hole here. But essentially, all you need to know is that he bought $500,000 worth of Ethereum in September of 2015. And that money, according to Vitalik Buterin, apparently saved Ethereum from an early death. So this is the origin story. This is right when Steven was coming in, trying to give Vitalik kind of this overall perspective on the way he needs to change Ethereum. And, Vitalik obviously chose the latter and went with this group. Now, this group, and this is going to be told in the video that we put on later on, starts just going down and unraveling this web of interrelations with the SEC, MIT, something known as Prometheum, which we've covered on the channel, and overall kind of just leans over to the corruption and everything that the XRP community has been bringing up over the last 5 to 6 years with all of the favoritism towards Ethereum. So for you guys that don't know what Prometheum is a regulated exchange that has been used by the SEC as its poster child. It was very popular, kind of blew up on Twitter, and I think May or June of this year, and kind of has since completely faded away. But that has led up a lot of questions, because if we understand that the funding of the Ethereum Foundation early on was by the Wanxiang Blockchain Labs, right here again, $500,000 worth of Ethereum is what brought them out of this gutter. I have a little clip right here that's only 25 seconds long, but this brings into question why Gary Gensler, the head of the SEC today, is speaking to an MIT class as a professor. He's teaching this in 2018 or 2019. And, we're going to listen to this and you can kind of understand it yourself. And you guys can hear the audio on your side, right?
We'll find out.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
So.
Okay, perfect. Let me know if you can hear this. Let's turn this all the way up. It's going to be a little quiet, guys.
Real quiet.
You hear it?
Silencio quiet.
Yeah, we don't hear it. No.
Silencio quiet? Okay, so
Algorand is great tech.
Yeah.
That's that would be Deezy's favorite line from him. Okay, so essentially he says that the funding came, he raised money and saved it. He looped in with Canada's Joe Lubin, who took about 10% of the Ethereum Foundation, and that was kind of the origins of the foundation and its findings. Now, this has been brought to the scene by Truth Labs, Boring Sleuth. You have to give him complete credit on Twitter. He has tracked like all of the wallets and has probably spent no less than 100 or 1,000 hours at this point analyzing all the connections. But it just brings in very weird questioning, because while he's speaking that Ethereum is being funded by Consensus and Joseph Lubin, Wanxiang Blockchain Labs on the back end is not only partnering and working with the Ethereum Foundation, they directly partner up with MIT at the same exact time he is teaching this at MIT to his students. And so this is the unraveling. This is what has turned into the overall ETHGATE. And again, in the video that we'll be releasing hopefully next week, we're going to break down the key notes over the release of these recordings. Now, I actually did listen to the 3 hours of this. It's like 2 hours and 47 minutes. But Crypto News put together a pretty good brief right here, where the topics that are covered from Steven himself are the fact that the Ethereum Foundation had the lack of operational infrastructure, especially in Switzerland, which is vital for administrative functions, concerns about Ethereum's financial decisions, including failure to hedge and speculation on Bitcoin's value, legal and regulatory risks related to money transfers, tax compliance, and promotion of questionable ICOs, poor internal structure, issues with co-founder conduct, communication competency, and then it needed a massive need for rebranding. So the takeaway from all of this, as our financial regulators, guys, are now questioning this, we have multiple House representatives that are actually targeting the SEC and saying, hey, we have questions on your relationship and ties to Prometheum, which ties all the way back through Wanxiang Blockchain Labs and the CCP. The takeaway here is, as we approach financial regulatory clarity in the crypto sector, there's a lot of people that are heavily against the SEC. And let me stop sharing the screen right here, because I'm just looking at my camera for no reason. Yeah. There's a lot of people that are questioning the SEC's ability to regulate this industry, and they're automatically pawning it off to the CFTC, saying, you know what, we don't want Gary Gensler doing this whatsoever. We're going to look at the rest of the crypto industry as commodities. But the matter of the fact here is, between funding, ICOs, regulatory risks, and all the uncertainties that are about this sector, I personally believe, this is my personal opinion, we cannot comfortably compare Bitcoin and Ethereum together and both just classify them immediately as commodities. Because if we do that, we're essentially picking our poison. This is now going to be, okay, well, if we don't want the SEC regulating, and the CFTC does step in and do this, is Ethereum actually a commodity, or is it something that might approach as a digital currency? I'm not going to be a lawyer or an expert on this, but the overall awareness here is, if we classify it as that, this could open up the space to more bad actors that copied and pasted Ethereum early on with the exact ICO and the just the outlook on how they grew their foundations early on. So massive questions, very important questions. Is this bad for Ethereum? Probably honestly not. I think this is something that is way too big to just be like, oh, this is the downfall of Vitalik, etc. But it will go to show, and the guys in Steven's article, it's a rescue and repair plan. So it's his focus is actually helping the Ethereum Foundation and having them make the right changes just to make the crypto industry a better place. But yeah, that's ETHGATE. That's what I got for you.
That was a really good breakdown. And actually, I would argue, when you said, is this bad for Ethereum? I would argue this is maybe more bad for the SEC, bad for Gary Gensler than it is Ethereum. You know, it shows corruption, politics. And again, I'm a big believer in separation of money and state. That's why I think it's great that Bitcoin's getting out of it. It will be interesting to see how all the political factors come into play over these next couple of years. It's definitely getting highly politicized. I 100% expect blockchain, Web3, crypto regulation, stablecoin regulation to be part of the talking points as we move into another election cycle. Actually, I'll never forget having a very heated debate with somebody back in 2018. I thought, in the 2020 cycle, this was going to be relevant. It wasn't in 2020, but I was like 100%. These will be talking points of U.S. presidents as time goes on. So the SEC, the power struggle that's going on right now within the political sector to try to regulate this space, it's clearly going to be a new emerging asset class. And everybody has their own agenda, whether you're BlackRock, whether you're the CFTC, whether you're the SEC, whether you're the United States, whether you're, different countries all around the world. This is going to be a hot button topic, and I have a feeling this is, again, much worse for the SEC and Gary Gensler than it is for Ethereum long term. Just my take.
Yeah, I think my biggest worry is, like you said, this is being massively politicized. And at this point, as people get really angry at the deep state, America's more divided than ever. This could very easily be pushed towards not only a political gain and maybe utilized for votes, but like we said, is okay, yeah, maybe we are mad at the SEC. Maybe we are mad at Gary Gensler, but the other thing is Gary Gensler's he's just the talking point. There is a whole group of researchers and a team behind him and funders and lobbyists that are part of this as well. So if we immediately just want to attack the deep state and we immediately pawn it off to the CFTC without doing our due diligence, and we classify a lot of altcoins that are very much potentially, in my opinion, a lot of these are securities, we can come into an issue where we have products like Tron, which I think everybody on this panel is very against Justin Sun. It's Justin Sun's project. It's almost just a giant money laundering scheme from my perspective, with the largest TVL, second largest TVL to Ethereum. So if we classify Ethereum as a commodity, does that make Tron a commodity? Does that make all these other altcoins commodities? And is that going to actually just hurt investors even more in the future than give us the true regulation and the true clarity that we actually need to make this a better place? So
great point. Yeah, I agree.
So all right, and go ahead, Blood.
Yeah. So TJ, do you think Ethereum has been co-opted?
I think a lot of these early projects were doing everything they could think of within their power to try to get adoption and try to get approval and try to move the ball forward. I'll say that much.
I'm starting to think it may be. I'm serious because I mean they're with the World Economic Forum, right? They've got ties with all types of organizations. Not saying that that's a bad thing per se, but you just look at they've cleared the path for Ethereum to be the one, right? They didn't come down on it like I think they should have. If you actually look at their rules, I'm talking about the SEC
at the time,
their guidelines, right? And so I'm just looking at all this, and we're seeing this whole situation that Josh is bringing up with ETHGATE. I'm just thinking, man, this bad boy may be co-opted.
Yeah, I will. Well, and you've got JP Morgan and Consensus and all, like.
And one other fact, a lot of people may not know. I think about 80% of the nodes on Ethereum are able to blacklist. They're like, I don't know. Do you remember that?
Like with I'm trying to think. If you use Tornado Protocol, this is about 80. I think to higher than that.
It may be higher than that.
Yeah, they comply with the powers that be.
Yeah. So.
And a lot of chains out there do. It'll be, like to Josh's point, there's going to be a lot of classification and discovery and debating, and I'm guaranteed there will be legal stuff that happens out of all of this. And the path from where we are today to our beautiful tokenized future where everybody's living in their citadels and we're all rich. It's going to be, it's like that meme you see of, the path of a holder. It's definitely not just ride your bike on a straight line up and to the right. You've got all kinds of dips and, ETFs and rejections and approvals. And again, how did the United States become one of the biggest holders of Bitcoin? They didn't buy it. They took it out of the hands of people.
But I say all that to say co-opted possibly means a great investment for you.
Yeah. Depends on
there is one more thing I want to show you guys.
Yep.
I think you still got the audio in. Deezy, you can hear still, right? Yeah. Okay. So there's one thing I want to show you out this, which is wild, and we'll be breaking down in the video that we're scripting out and writing for next week. I'm going to share the screen one last time right here real quick and go over to the Twitter, which is the path to Altseason. So this is very interesting because not only did Wanxiang Blockchain Labs create and fund the Ethereum Foundation, Vitalik's wallets, etc., those wallets have been linked and found through Truth Labs, Boring Sleuth again on Twitter, to be the direct funders and openers for the creations of Crypto.com. I think like Bitfinex, a lot of your large exchanges. Don't quote me on the exact exchanges, but it's a lot of them. They also relate to Tron. They also relate to a lot of money laundering issues. And so when you actually look at the flow of money for the path to Altseason in these markets, you have, again, Bitcoin, which I look at as a commodity. Everything else is essentially the software as a service. But it's also why you get an immediate flow from Ethereum down into this path of mid cap, large caps into Altseason, because the flow of money going into these wallets, as they see a lot more gains, a lot more profits, those whales take profits and redistributes this giant chain of what just leads to an Altseason. And that's something we're going to break down in this video because it's a very interesting connection that a lot of these early on sleuths have been like, oh, you want to know why altcoins pump? It's not just because, yes, there is more liquidity in these markets, but the liquidity is directly correlated to the wallets and the creations of them and the scale and structure of the flow of wallets over time, which is a very interesting outlook on these markets. So anyways, lots to break down. It's always fun to get into it. But guys, remember, these are allegations. Don't just go, oh my goodness, FUD Ethereum. This could make Ethereum better. It's also opening up and exposing the SEC, which we do want. We just want to be on our toes, make sure we don't give the regulation to the wrong hands.
Yep,
that is right.
Absolutely. Thanks for calling in, Josh. Can't wait to see you back in the studio here next week. We're going to be cranking out a lot of these videos. So great chatting with you.
Appreciate it, man. All right. And none of this would happen if it weren't for XRP. Y'all ready for this hot take? Another Deezy hot take. All right. So here's all right. So we got like these Hinman emails and there's a little bit of favoritism. And if it weren't for communities crying foul at the favoritism, we would never, ever hear about this. Never would have articles about it. And think about it. Do you think the SEC shows favoritism with big banks? Of course they do, right? Of course. Yeah. Bank of America, got Berkshire Hathaway, large shareholder. Yeah. They probably get front of the line. But do you see when Bank of America gets a little favoritism from the SEC, do you see every truest customer making YouTube channels, making Reddit posts, doing Twitter threads, going out screaming, holding signs at conferences? But you do see that from other crypto communities. ETH is being favorited. There's a lot of corruption. So we need, I'm calling you out, truest customers, Wachovia, all these banks, you see some favoritism happening. Hey, let's start marching in the streets. I want Bank of America customers making YouTube channels.
Yeah, politics exist. But
in crypto, we're like favoritism, but you just don't see it in banking.
Rip
sector.
Everybody's ears at home. If that was loud for me here,
I try to point it up.
I'm sorry.
I try to point it up. So
I did want to come to the chat. I lost the name right now, but I did see somebody asking, was the founder of Cardano, referring to Charles Hoskinson, part of Ethereum at the time? Yes, he was. There was, several notable founders. A lot of things caused them to split and go their separate ways at this point. I do feel like he's being, Charles Hoskinson is kind of being unfairly targeted through this. I mean, this is, if anything, I think a lot more has to do with Joseph Lubin than it does Charles Hoskinson, on another co-founder of Ethereum at the time. So, that's just my 2 cents there. But it'll be really interesting. Politics definitely play a factor in business.
Absolutely.
No matter where you are in the world, no matter what level you're talking about, whether you're talking local politics, whether you're talking federal politics, whether you're talking global politics. But when you're talking about this much money in an asset class that's going to have this much impact on the world, you're talking, this is network, this is something as big as the internet that's going to change life as we know it for everyone. I mean, the way it clicked in my mind originally was like, man, this is going to speed up the world by 5 to 7 business days. When you just think about transaction times of what banks used to do compared to what you can do with the blockchain and the network. If you're dealing with that much of a global shift, you better believe there's going to be a lot of global politics that come into play. And if you're not playing those games, you're probably going to have less success than the people that are. Whether you agree that that's right or wrong, that's a whole other debate, and that's why we do shows like this. Drop your comments in the chat and let us know.
All right. All right. Well, Josh shared a little thing with the Bitcoin, and then like Ethereum, and then other L1s, and then lower cap alts. Well, BlackRock, speaking on that point, let's talk about L1s here in relation to Bitcoin. We found this kind of interesting. BlackRock states Cardano and other L1s are a risk to Bitcoin demand and price. Ethereum, Solana, Avalanche, Polkadot, or Cardano could have a negative impact on the demand and price of Bitcoin, thereby adversely affecting the value of the shares that they're going to be offering.
Couldn't agree much more.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be demand.
Disagree. I'm sorry, I couldn't disagree much more.
Oh no, I think it definitely. Because you got $100. Imagine there's only Bitcoin, or you got $100 and there's 5 options.
Right.
It's going to lower the amount of money going into Bitcoin.
Well, I think that, Bitcoin serves as a different investment vehicle than, say, these smart contracts, blockchain 2.0 chains. I think that Bitcoin is the digital dollar. It's going to be the digital gold for the future. And that's what we're looking at it as. These other chains, man, these are all smart contract. You're going to do dApps on them and DeFi and all that. I look at Bitcoin totally different than all these other chains they're listing here, in my opinion. So we'll see, though.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to have much of an impact.
Well, I think there's finite money that can go into crypto, and I think the more cryptos you add, it, sure, maybe it's not every dollar going to an altcoin takes $1 from Bitcoin, but I think it takes pennies at least.
Yeah, I'm just curious on the whole political thing. You guys, a lot of I kind of hate politics. I'm more in the independent, self-sovereign, you call it liberal, libertarian, call it whatever you want, but I just kind of anti-politics. But let me know in the chat, drop a 1 or put a P in the chat if you think you're going to be talking some politics with your family this holiday season.
Oh God.
I saw, I saw the hilarious thing of like me after 1 glass of water, and it's what's his name going crazy ranting about different things at the Thanksgiving table. Money and politics, again, hard to separate, but let us know. There's about 700, almost 800 of you guys watching right now. Drop a like too if you enjoy all this Bitcoin talk and crypto talk. If you hold Ethereum, let us know. If you continue to hold Ethereum, let us know. And let us know if you think this is good long-term for Ethereum versus bad. I'm
those
curious.
Likes up. We're only at 226, man. Let's
I
get
think we can hit
Get
400 today, no problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're going to talk politics at a Thanksgiving dinner table, let's bring up ESG as well. Ethereum topping ESG ranking again while Bitcoin continues to struggle. Get your most conservative and your most progressive family member and ask them, hey, what are your thoughts on ESG? Well, thankfully, Larry Fink is increasingly not a fan of it. Ethereum was followed by popular altcoin projects like Solana, Polkadot, and BNB as leading the ESG narrative here. Bitcoin languishing in the 26th position out of 40 assets that were evaluated. Yeah, I mean, we do know that eventually Bitcoin's going to help secure energy grids and it'll, help reduce flaring of natural gases.
Yeah, I would say
today there's a lot of electricity being poured into
Bitcoin.
But
check your source on that and check their motivation, right? I mean, yes, there's a lot of electricity being used on it, but compare that to, other uses of electricity and energy around the world. Also compare the amount of forward movement in progression in clean energy that Bitcoin miners and Bitcoin facilities have made all around the world compared to these other projects. These other projects, they do proof of stake, say, and they use less energy, but have they actually made things more green? No, they're just using less energy than Bitcoin. Bitcoin came out using a lot of energies, and through that innovation and the mining mechanism and the incentive structure, it's created a lot more green initiatives and upgrading the grid. And this is something we talked with the people over at CleanSpark about. CleanSpark, a huge mining facility. Their company, I believe, is based out of New York, but they've got facilities in New York and a lot here in different sections of Georgia, not too far from our offices. 45 minutes, give or take, a couple different directions. But they told us a lot about how much they've actually improved, not just the local grid around them, but their entire cities. And it makes the energy more efficient for everyone around them. And so, again, check your source on these articles, check your motivation on these articles, because I would argue that Bitcoin has had the #1 green impact on making moving the energy, clean energy forward, where a lot of these other projects, they said, well, let's just come up with a way to, make these transactions happen and use less energy. So again, it's all about how you measure things and, statistics. You can do them a lot of different ways. So Bitcoin, I believe you will see that enter into the ESG narrative as we get into 24 and 25. I think BlackRock, somebody that was pushing that ESG narrative, I think they're now very incentivized to consider Bitcoin ESG friendly. And then when you see
he's actually rolling back all his ESG stuff. I don't know if you watch it.
No, he has.
I will say this. I think we're going to have the energy sector increasingly push Bitcoin, because it's just going to be good revenue. At one point, sure, it's a fraction of 1% for the amount of electricity being spent, but at one point, it could represent 3% of their revenue. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see that. But we have since we have blood here today, we had to bring up a special coin. It's a coin near and dear to your heart. Litecoin overtakes Bitcoin briefly in transaction count amid network boom.
Wow.
So it was a monthly surge. We're not talking about like a 24-hour period. That can get game. No, the monthly surge, approximately 20%, briefly surpassed that. And then it looks like Litecoin
is the right coin.
Bitcoin.
You can stop right there.
Coin.
It looks like Litecoin is the right coin, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, we got 5 million long-term wallets.
I'll fight you on that one all day long.
I'm just playing.
No, I mean,
but this is interesting, man.
It is. No, it's a good way to do it's quick, fast transactions for sure. I just see it slowly falling down the list on CoinMarketCap.
Well, let's see here. Does it have diminishing returns? We go to Litecoin.
Well, I think
it's ranked 18 right now. It's down almost 5% just today. But that's more Oh, that's right. A slightly higher high.
Mhm.
Very slight, but it was a higher high. Can we repeat it, Blood?
Like Mark the Shark said, don't sleep on Litecoin, baby. Listen, Litecoin is a test bed for Bitcoin. It implement Mimblewimble.
Yeah.
Great.
Now, TJ, what do you think of this? Look at the higher lows from the previous bear market to this bear market. If we could pull up the chart real quick. Higher lows, I would say that's pretty bullish. I'm not going to lie.
I just remember back in the day when I got into crypto, I can't remember what the ratio for Bitcoin to Litecoin was then, but it's definitely not there today. So I can see Litecoin at least closing that gap and getting near where the ratio was in the early days of Litecoin. Listen, it's a coin. It's a cryptocurrency. Okay. That's all it's for. It's for transaction or transacting volume or
value.
I should say.
Point A to point B.
Right. That's what it's all about. So, I mean, hey, I think this one to have in your pocket just to have it. It's faster as TJ talked about. And hey,
Chat,
it's OG coin.
Don't sleep on Litecoin. All right. XRP. Will we talk about XRP? Shake and bake. Hey, seems like more people than not like Litecoin in the chat.
Hey, man, it's been around. I don't know how many altcoin seasons.
Yeah, there's nothing to really hate about it. I'll say that. Like, it does what it's supposed to do. What do you got?
No, I'm just laughing at it. There's no real reason to hate it.
Yeah, there really isn't. That's what I'm saying.
There's no real reason to love it.
That's kind of where I was going with it. Like, it's not something that gets me. If I'm looking to make gains and invest in a project, it's not something that gets me excited.
Right?
You know, and that you could say that for most Bitcoin forks at the time, or I don't know if it's technically a Bitcoin fork, but a soft fork, I guess. But there's just so many more other things to get excited about. A lot of other layer ones, but it works. Like, it does its job, and like you said, it's not gonna. I don't know. Is there any development happening on it anymore? Like,
well, when I talked to Rice, and Blood, you were there as well. We went to this Cardano con, and it was super bullish. Everyone, this was depths of the bear. And then Rice and Blood, they went to the Litecoin conference just merely a month later. Asked Rice, hey man, was it like bullish? Like Cardano? He's like, no, it was quiet.
It was quiet. Hey, but hey,
that's
the
okay.
tortoise, the tortoise, my friend, wins the race.
C90, you got to drop and give us 20, but you're here now, and that's what counts. All right, let's talk about this German lawmaker, not German automaker. Usually you hear German maker, you're thinking auto. No, this German lawmaker leading a plan to promote Bitcoin as legal tender. Okay, I did a little research. Think of this, if you're American, think of this as a random Tea Party member suggested this in 2014. This is kind of what this would be like. Her name's Joanna Kotar, German politician. She's within their what we call the House of Commons or the House of Representatives. So she's from that side where they have, I think, about 700 representatives. But one of them's out there saying we need to make Bitcoin the legal tender. I think it's just one of those things. It's just one of those dominoes, folks. It's just one of the straws on that camel's back. The camel's not breaking his back today, but the knees are going to start buckling if they're not buckling already.
No, and that's definitely relevant. And like, who knows if that will actually come to fruition or not? But we saw El Salvador do that. We've talked about it a lot. Companies that are countries that hold a lot of Bitcoin have a very high chance of moving up the economic standing ladder. The more we see countries and nations and governments all around the world saying that they want to, it's basically, this is the equivalent, the digital equivalent of saying we need to go back to a hard money supply. We need to move back to a gold standard. This is very anti what we've been experiencing through Keynesian economics for the last, since the 70s or even really before that with, when it comes to the theories of those getting out. But we're seeing the pendulum swing back the other way when it comes to, money supply and wanting less elasticity and less, flexibility in what they can do with the supply. It would be a pretty shocking, I would say, for a country as large and, obviously Germany, kind of the center of
EU.
Yeah, the financial hub over there.
Economy in the continent, I believe.
Yeah, and their banking sector is huge, and this is definitely a big statement coming out of a nation like Germany.
I don't believe it though.
It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah, just the one crazy, Tea Party like member there.
Yeah, it'd be like somebody here on an independent saying they're going to run on a Bitcoin platform and say we're going to make Bitcoin legal tender.
Fixed amount, it holds everyone accountable. And governments don't want to be held accountable.
Like that. Yeah,
that's the antithesis of it. So I don't see it happening, man.
But I do agree with TJ. Countries are going to want to accumulate some. They're going to want to accumulate more and more just for their own coffers on a game theory. But what's one of the best ways to accumulate? Mining it. And then Tether is mining it. And Guys, you got to remember, Tether has more U.S. treasuries than I think all but like 15 nations or something like that. Well, Tether is looking to invest $500 million in Bitcoin mining. They've been pretty profitable over the last year, according to their attestations. I'm not like looking at the books myself, but with a planned investment of $500 million, this isn't over 10 years. This is over just the next 6 months. They're said to become a key player in this energy-intensive and competitive field. Best known for the USD stablecoin, but yeah, Tether is getting increasingly higher and higher amounts of Bitcoin in their coffers. So when you see a meme of an empty bank vault, yeah, they might have empty bank vaults, but digitally, I'm pretty sure they have funds. They survive FUD after FUD after FUD, and they seem to have a good business model. They seem to be reducing their Chinese commercial paper. They seem to be going more and more into short-term U.S. Treasury bonds. So I'm pretty bullish on Tether sticking around 5 years from now. But again, this is crypto. Who knows? They might get attacked by heavily by the government.
Tether's died more than Bitcoin. I swear to you.
Yeah,
10 years.
That'd be a good metric.
Yeah, I want to see that metric. I want to see how many times Tether has died or supposedly died.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
they're still around.
Yeah, but much to the chagrin of the Bank of International Settlements, stablecoins cannot be trustworthy payment means. BIS is the one with the interesting looking chairman, right?
Oh yeah.
Big guy. Could you pull
Bank
that
of
up
International
there?
Settlements? Yeah,
he looks like a cartoon villain.
He reminds me of like like a Gotham City
he's
criminal.
a Gotham City villain or like a 1913
All he's
political
missing is
cartoon.
that cigar, man.
You see the political cartoon where it's like some fat banker and he's like got teats and there's like country sucking, like that's what maybe I don't want to look shame or anything, but the guy looks like a cartoon villain for sure.
Not my computer. He broke my computer.
Yeah, the zoom is so weird with Google Images sometimes if you're like over the image.
Yeah, it doesn't want me to in too much.
I think he overloaded the RAM.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, the BIS is concluding none of the 68 stablecoins it overviewed could remain true to its name, being stable. Not one of them has been able to maintain parity with its peg at all times, irrespective of the size or type of backing there. They say that there's no guarantee that a stablecoin issuers could redeem stablecoins in full and on demand, and highlighted significant data gaps that make it difficult to ascertain the risks of the stablecoins and the smooth functioning of payment systems. Well, that sounds like a smooth brain take if I've ever heard one. Yeah, we've lost the peg, but give me one nation's currency that's maintained value. I'll wait. You can't. All right. Enough said. Any thoughts? I mean, yeah, of course they're going to FUD Bank of International Settlements. They're going to FUD stablecoins. It takes their power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're against a lot of this stuff. Bank of International Settlements, the IMF, International Monetary Fund, they've been very anti anybody moving away or moving towards any asset other than the dollar. Like you said, it gives them their leverage, their lending power. It gives them their set of controls over these countries. They tend to have very predatory loan terms that they make with a lot of different nations that are desperate, and they catch them in their moment of need, give them some money, but take much, much more when it comes to value. And I really like what Blood was saying earlier about Bitcoin. What Bitcoin does is it holds the value accountable. And that's what they don't want to happen. They want to have the maneuverability to print things, take things, play the Forex game. I mean, it's the way the money game has been played for quite some time. Now that we're seeing a global shift here, the world has a pretty good, I've never, I haven't been around hundreds and hundreds of years. I've read a lot of history, but it feels like based on what we've seen in history, we're in the midst of a very dramatic global shift that we're going to experience probably during our lifetime, probably sometime in the next 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah, I can say in our lifetime for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this mini altcoin season. Since it is the season of giving here, well, the crypto market cap seems to be giving back a little. Took some back today, gave us some coal today. But the altcoin market cap is pushing towards this pivotal region that it lost in August of 22. You can see this is where it lost the region right there, kind of bounced off, almost a little wick right there. And now we're in a very, very important part as we get closer and closer to that point of control. Well, altcoins have been growing for the past few weeks and are believed to witness more growth. The resistance area of the 460 to 470 billion is considered the most logical area in the short term. It looks like we maybe flirted with it again today, and then we saw the pullback in the last hour or two. Do you expect an altcoin pullback, Crypto Blood, or
Yeah, for sure. If we continue to break down on Bitcoin, I always look at Bitcoin as my catalyst, or I shouldn't say catalyst, but kind of barometer for the overall market. So Hey, I think you said that earlier, TJ. If Bitcoin goes down 2%, 4%, you're going to see the altcoins go down 6, 7%, 8%, even more than that. So yes, altcoins are going to head down if we break below those critical areas in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So
Bitcoin is king, guys. Don't forget. You know, it drives the market.
All right. So Satoshi is our what then? Bitcoin's king. Is he our arbiter?
We don't know.
Our high priest?
He's the great unknown.
He's the great unknown. He's the question mark, folks. He's the question mark.
He's the black matter, the black
the black hole, the dark
dark matter.
Yeah. Dark matter.
He's dark matter. Dark matter. Supposedly it's all around the universe.
80% of
I'm sure
of
BJ
Bitcoin
was
is owned
fascinated with dark matter 10 years ago. Were you not?
No. He's just going to tell us how wrong we are right now.
He's like, dang it, I was kind of into it 10 years ago. Yeah. All right. I called it. All right. Aave rebrands to Avera or Avara. Where are we landing at on this one? Is it Avera?
Sure.
It's all right. It's very hard to guess how you pronounce it.
It's a very hard to
So Avera acquires a software developer. I haven't heard of this wallet, Ethereum wallet family. I don't think that's the best name. So we have another name change. This time it's Aave. I'm surprised Aave changed their name. I wonder if they have bad Google search results, or you know what it might be. Hot take, another Deezy hot take. Just thought of this. Aave hacks. Could be.
Every time I hear Aave, I think of agave, because I like to put agave in my tea and my coffee.
There you go.
For some reason, I don't know why.
I tried to convince Hudson to bring you like artisanal coffee today.
Yes.
We were just
You're
a little
messing up
busy
hitting
today.
that work. Come on now, get it together.
Next time we'll have artisanal coffee for you. We'll make sure. If not,
single origin. Single origin.
You know what? They're not getting it 2 weeks. They're just getting booted if they don't bring it. All right. Well, let's see. At most, hey, DeFi is looking a little more centralized, and we like to admit, folks, at most, 4 services control the majority of any DeFi sector. So it's debatable whether DeFi was ever decentralized, but there's no doubt that it's become more centralized this year. Gauntlet's new research has detailed this recent centralization. For example, 4 liquid stakers controlled 90% of that sector. Bridges as a sector is just as centralized. 89% of bridges is controlled by 4 bridges there. So all bridge market share is just by 4 of them for 89%. And DeFi is also very modest for its goals of disintermediating banks and payment processors. According to Masari, less than 3 dozen DeFi projects have generated $1 million in the past 6 months. So we got a lot of dead projects out there, a lot of centralization. That will change, though. That will change. As we get closer, the bear markets are for consolidation and the bull markets are for new players to come into the entrance. Most will fail, some will succeed, and of the old ones, 1 or 2 of those will probably fail. But yeah, I don't think it's any secret. DeFi is kind of a myth at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about mini Altseason. I did want to comment. I mean, Josh shared that graph earlier of kind of the flow of Bitcoin to altcoins and that sort of stuff. I've said it before. I'll say it again, guys. We're going to get those mini Altseasons after Bitcoin legs up and while it runs sideways. And you need it to do that for a little while for the altcoins to have room to run on top of it. Don't expect your favorite alt to be pumping while Bitcoin is pulling back, and don't expect your favorite alt to have dramatic gains while Bitcoin is making big gains. The money flows in and out of Bitcoin and into altcoins based on what Bitcoin is doing. So if Bitcoin pumps, if we get, we get a rate cut, we get, some new liquidity, we get a tether print, we get, an ETF approved, we're going to see a big move on Bitcoin. And then if it runs sideways for, say, 3, 4, 5 days to a week, that's when you see the altcoins really start popping off. And then again, once Bitcoin starts to move, even if it's only 1 or 2% in either direction, you'll see that money quickly flow back out of altcoins, back into Bitcoin, or at least the majors, Bitcoin and Ethereum, which again, it seems like Ethereum hasn't been doing anything recently.
I want to touch on the rates. You're
go ahead.
About rates, right?
Go ahead.
I don't think we're going to see another rate hike anytime soon, as long as we keep seeing the bond market auctions do horrible.
Yeah.
Right.
So the market is actually raising rates for the Fed right now. If people don't understand that concept, that's what's happening right now. So until we see the bond market return to some normalcy, you won't see rate hikes, in my opinion. So that doesn't mean that we're on the cusp of a rate cut. It just means that the market is raising rates for the Fed right now. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, so every 10 minutes, they'll just go sell some debt. Yeah, here's your 3% debt. Here's your 3% debt. And every 10 minutes, hey, here's your 3%
and
debt.
the shorter
and there's always
part
buyers.
of the year. Yeah, well, it has been on the shorter end.
Yeah.
Right.
but not
the long term.
The long, we're having problems.
Yeah.
Basically, the auctions are failing.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't know that. So that's what's happening.
I mean,
Check that
hey,
out.
would you be taking a 10+ year bet on the United States right now?
If I was a billionaire, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Where else am I going to put my money?
Right.
What other
I
country
mean,
would I do it?
Bitcoin.
And I can't put all billion in Bitcoin. As cool as it sounds and as awesome as it'd be, I can't do that either.
All right.
So,
Well,
but me personally, no.
I wouldn't, and I don't think the markets are showing a lesser and lesser interest, like
Yes.
you were saying, on the
Yes.
long-term bonds, on the long-term treasuries, because that's basically what you're doing. You have to lock up your. Think about it as a staking protocol.
Basically.
You have to lock it up for 10+ years. Where would you want to lock up your money and hope for the best? Right now, you don't know. You want to have control of your own funds. So yeah, maybe I'll lock something up for a couple of years because I'm getting paid better to lock it up for 2 years than I am for 10 years anyway. And if you see a protocol that's all of a sudden paying you more for short-term yield than long-term yield, you definitely wouldn't be incentivized for doing that. So if you think about it in the way you think about DeFi and the way you think about markets, it's very clear that the long-term is unknown and the markets hate the unknown. So I really think these next couple of years will be pivotal in where the money flows. So
like Bennett said, China selling, Japan selling. There's a lot of places selling. All right, well, let's talk. Let's take this talk instead of selling. Let's take it to the moon, baby. Literally and physically, the moon. Let's talk about
wild.
Doge going to the moon. Does that mean dollar Doge? No, we're talking about putting it on a spaceship, everybody. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if you were wondering, Dogecoin, one of the only coins up today, if you're wondering why, this is the reason Dogecoin is up today. They're literally sending Doge to the moon. So go ahead.
It's like retail loves these type of stories, folks. All right.
Yes,
And a
they
new
do.
announcement.
Deezy, this is how we anger the aliens, is by sending them an S-coin.
Yeah, well,
Right. We couldn't
know.
send Bitcoin, but we're going to send them Dogecoin.
Yeah.
well,
It costs more to send.
we're actually sending
Bitcoin.
both. we actually are sending both.
Oh, we are. Okay, good.
Yeah, so it's the team behind, Doge said Astrobotics. It's a firm specializing in space robotics technology. Is planning on stashing physical Doge on the Peregrine lunar lander when it launches on the 23rd. According to this packet, the physical Doge will be taken to the moon via German logistics firms DHL's Moonbox, which is a time capsule designed to store goods on the moon for centuries to come. There's also going to be a physical Bitcoin on there. But, Bitcoin doesn't have a community like Doge does. Doge, people are pumping that harder. So there's no Bitcoin CEO, tweeting about this. Meanwhile, the Doge community is going nuts. The official Doge account's tweeting about it. But yeah, they're. I don't know if they're sending one of those OG physical Bitcoins. You know what I'm talking about? That rare one. They carry a premium over Bitcoin
or whatever it's called.
I forget what they're called. I want to say they have like a 20% premium over
I forgot
Bitcoin.
what those are called. I never got one.
I would never mess with it because you're banking on it being sealed. You open it up, you see like the
This is nothing new out of the Doge community. I remember when Doge came out, so we were doing stuff like this back then. You're talking about putting Doge on the NASCAR racers and sending, I think it was a bobsled team from Jamaica to.
I remember the bobsled.
This is nothing new for them. It's nothing new for the Doge community.
Well, there is something new, and this is a fun story. Very, very new for the individual. Snoop is going to quit smoking weed. What?
Wow.
All right,
I heard about
so
this.
people are saying, no, this seems real. It seems to be going forward. After much consideration and conversation with my family, I decided to give up smoke. Please respect my privacy at this time. What do you guys think
As
of
I
this?
make a public announcement.
Is this real? I mean, Greg.
Right. Respect my privacy, but I just told millions of people that I'm quitting smoking.
Greg had the best response. Today is an April Fool's Day, Snoop. Meanwhile, Chef Reactions also is a really good TikTok account. I thought this one was funny. Edible makers right now.
Yeah. Chat says, why did this break my heart? This is not necessarily too shocking to me. I mean, he's in his 50s. If he wants to make these decisions, that's fine for himself, for his life personally. It's definitely going to affect a lot of his businesses and his brands, I would think. I don't know how his partners feel about it.
What do you think of Dolan's theory here?
What do we got? This is probably just going to be some viral campaign where he launches his own line of vapes, or edibles or something. Yeah, that's kind of where I was heading with it. This could be a potential business move. It might be. Doesn't he have some kind of drink that is supposed to be similar?
I'd be surprised if he didn't.
Right. It's like, I don't know if it was him or not. There was something called I want to say it was called Vibes or Chill or something like that, where it's like a CBD based drink or something like that. So if if there is a branding opportunity for all kinds of THC alternatives, then that would make a lot of sense.
Snoop so high he thinks it's April. C90. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Blood, true or not? What do you think here? Is it just a marketing ploy?
No, I don't. It looks pretty serious. To
Yeah,
me.
I think it's true.
I don't smoke weed, so
you're a cigar guy.
I'm a cigar guy.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Now Snoop rolls. He smokes the same size cigars.
Yes, he does. I feel
probably a little bit different. Well, folks,
Absolutely.
if you haven't joined the memberships yet, we are going to do a Q&A. You still got some time to get in on that. I don't know what the logistics or how that's going to play out. Maybe you guys can kind of let me know.
Yeah, you just click the join button, guys, if you need to. Like, we're doing a members only stream after this. We'll be reviewing your portfolios. We'll be asking any questions you want. Just come in and hang out with us. Ask us any questions. We've already got a handful. Crimson Caravan Company will be in there. C90, I'm sure. Any of the members, we're going to be doing this every Friday, members only stream. I believe this will be pushed to the BitLab Discord as well, but definitely here on YouTube, members only. So it'll be a lot of fun. You can click, if you're watching the stream right now, you should see right next to the subscribe button, you see the join button. That's what you need to do. You need to join and go through those steps. That gets you access to not only these members only streams and members only content. We did put our first members only video out last week. It was about protecting your privacy and was a review of Monero and some of the things going on there. It will get you, obviously fun perks in the chat, priority chat replies, different emojis, as well as access into the Discord where we have got open chat. You can see the stories we're going to cover on the live stream before we cover them, and these Q&A questions. So if you want to have more personal interaction with us, get specifically all of your questions answered throughout the bull market. I believe we plan on Fridays to be doing a lot of portfolio reviews where we break down your portfolio and go through all of those details and kind of say, hey, if this were me, I would do it this way, or hey, no, that's a really good portfolio. We think you're gonna crush it. So we're gonna be doing that right after this stream wraps right now. So if you haven't already joined membership, please go ahead and do that. Just click that join button now. If not, smash the like on the way out. Let us know in the chat what you're grateful for. We have Thanksgiving coming up. We have a lot to be grateful for, no matter where you are right now. If you can't come up with something that you're grateful for, I feel bad for you. So
I wonder what Will Smith is grateful for right now.
Oh man,
come tune in blockchain basement at 2 o'clock for that one.
That's like days old. The claim that he had hooked up with a dude.
Oh no,
I don't know. I mean, you can't trust any.
Isn't that his
story.
wife?
Oh,
never mind. All right.
That's how you get it right there.
We're out of here.